नमस्कार, आप देख रहे हैं खास मुलाकात और आज हमारी बातचीत हो रही है वित्त मंत्री श्री पी चिदम्बरम से। अब एक साल का जो समय था इनका आने के बाद, तब से हमने देखा कि बहुत अच्छे काम हुए। 2 महीने अगस्त सितंबर इस साल के, जिसमें रूपी के कारण एक माहौल बिगड़ा, लेकिन फिर से अब इकोनॉमी एक रिवाइवल की तरफ दिख रही है। समझना बड़ा जरूरी है कि ये रिवाइवल अभी भी हेजी है या एक पक्का डिसाइसिव रिवर्सल है हमारे स्लो डाउन के बाद। सर, वक्त निकालने के लिए आपका बहुत शुक्रिया। पहला सवाल तो यही है कि सीएडी पे हम लोग एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे थे कि आपका जो नंबर है, रेड लाइन को जो आपने बात कही थी, तो 60 बिलियन पर ले आए, एक तरीके से ओवर अचीव कर रहे हैं आप, तो ये तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है। और फिस्कल डेफिसिट पर भी आपने कहा है कि आप स्टिक करेंगे। इसके अलावा लेकिन ये मोमेंटम लूज ना हो जाए, तो टॉप ऑफ माइंड आपके जरूर कुछ चीजें होंगी जिस पर इस वक्त आपकी एनर्जी और आपका माइंड एंगेज होगा। क्या कर रहे हैं?
See, these are two important indicators of the economy. In fact, analysts, rating agencies, investors are not worried about the day-to-day problems. They're worried about the soundness of the economy, whether the fundamentals are strong. And two indicators of fundamentals are the current account deficit and the fiscal deficit. There we started with a fiscal deficit of over 6%. We brought it down to 4.9 last year. And this year I've said very clearly it's a red line. It will be contained to below 4.8%. 4.8. That's a red line. I met the Prime Minister yesterday. He's fully supportive of it. And whatever steps are required to be taken, we will take to keep it below 4.8. For the current account deficit, of course, there is good news. Last year we ended with $88 billion. That simply a country like India cannot afford. And let's be plain about it. We cannot afford a current account deficit of $88 billion. We have to find $88 billion of inflow to finance it. We can't print dollar notes in India. Therefore, the effort was to contain it. We originally pegged it at $70 billion. Now, thanks to the news that is flowing in, we think we can peg it at $60 billion or below. I'm confident we'll do even slightly better than $60 billion.
सर, इसमें 2 कंसर्न हम लोग सुनते हैं एनेक्डोटली। एक तो ये कि सीएडी के पीछे जो गोल्ड का फैक्टर है उसने हेल्प किया है, लेकिन गोल्ड की स्मगलिंग के जो केसेस पकड़े गए हैं उसके बेसिस पे लगता है कि वो स्मगलिंग का वॉल्यूम बहुत बड़ा है। और फिस्कल डेफिसिट पे 76% का टारगेट ऑलरेडी अगर आप पहुंच चुके हैं, तो क्या कुछ खर्चे ऐसे होंगे जो आप डिफर करेंगे?
No, let's talk about gold first. Last year we imported about 835 tons of gold. This year, so far, the import is below 400 tons. So let's assume that we import another 100 tons in the next 5 months. It will be 500 tons. 500 ton gold import. Nobody can smuggle 300 tons of gold into India. Yes, there is some slight rise in gold smuggling because of the seizures. We know that. But I asked all my officers, taken all together, smuggler brings in 1 kilo, 2 kilos, 5 kilos at the most. Nobody brings in more than 5 kilos. You can't carry more than 5 kilos of gold and still go undetected. So I asked them, what is your estimate of how much gold is smuggled every month? The best or worst estimate is 1 ton of gold is smuggled every month. So let me assume that, thanks to the measures I've taken, 1 ton of gold is coming into the country. In the next 5 months, 5 tons of gold will come.
Quite insignificant.
If I did not take these measures, 300 tons of gold will come.
Right.
Now 300 tons of gold, which I pay for in foreign exchange, and 5 tons of gold which is smuggled. Now, which is better? I'm not saying smuggling is good, but you look at the options, I think what we have done is correct, and I think some years later, people looking back will say, this is one of the best decisions that we took in order to contain the current account deficit. Now, on the fiscal deficit, I don't think there is any pattern. I've got the numbers for the last several years. In 1 year, the fiscal deficit number will be high in the beginning of the year, then it will taper. In other years, it is low in the beginning of the year, but becomes higher as the year goes by because of spending. It depends upon the spending pattern. This year we decided we will front load the spending. Therefore the fiscal deficit appears to be high, but I am very confident, and I've told my officers, there's a red line, we will contain the fiscal deficit to below the budgeted number.
बिल्कुल। रुपी के बारे में भी आपने कहा कि जितना है थोड़ा और इसको स्ट्रांग होना चाहिए वहाँ से, तो फिर 60 से 62 की तरफ हम इसको देख रहे हैं। अभी का जो सारे इंडिकेशन हैं और एफआईआई भी आ रहा है वो ठीक है, लेकिन अगर यूएस टेपरिंग का टाइमिंग चूंकि हम कर नहीं सकते, तो उसके लिए आपने कहा था अपने रेगुलेटर से कि वी हैव टू बी प्रिपेयर। सो वो क्या प्रिपरेशंस होंगी जो उस शॉक को एब्जॉर्ब कर सके जब ग्लोबल लिक्विडिटी का फ्लो पैटर्न बदल जाएगा, लोग अपना पोर्टफोलियो रीएडजस्ट करने लगेंगे?
See, when I say we are prepared, what I tried to say was that we now know this will happen. On May 22, nobody in the world knew, except Mr. Bernanke, nobody knew that he would make that announcement. Now we know it will happen. It will happen perhaps in January or February. Today they say it will happen in March. So the market and the government are now prepared for this, in the sense that we know it will happen sometime or other. Therefore, we need to strengthen the fundamentals of the economy. What the governor said, a bulletproof balance sheet, which means we will contain the current account deficit, contain the fiscal deficit, improve the revenues, contain expenditure, take steps to prevent excessive speculation on the currency, intervene where somebody is actually manipulating the currency. A number of measures are being taken so that when the taper happens, since the market has already factored in, the market won't be taken by surprise, we won't be taken by surprise, and whatever impact will be there will be a minimal impact. In the meanwhile, inflows are helping us. Capital inflows are helping us. In the last, I think, about 7 or 8 weeks, we have added $9 billion to our reserves. And I think more money will come in, not only FII money, FTI money will come in, FCNRB money is coming in. We are able to raise more money in the overseas market. International Finance Corporation, IFC, arm of the World Bank, is going to raise $1 billion in rupee-denominated currency and lend it to Indian private sector enterprises. All this is a sign that people are beginning to keep faith with the Indian economy, and money will come into the country.
बिल्कुल। ये जो जिनको आपने भी कहा कि ग्रीन शूट्स हैं, तो ये जितनी चीज़ें हैं छोटे छोटे पीस में अगर देखें, तो क्या ये एक डिसाइसिव रिवर्सल के लिए और एक इंडस्ट्रियल रिकवरी के लिए एडिक्वेट हैं, या आप कुछ और डेवलपमेंट्स का वेट कर रहे हैं?
See, economics is not astrology. It's only an astrologer who can make predictions. We can only go by trends. Economics is a science which looks at trends and then says what is likely to happen. Now we look at the trends. We look at the trend of core sector. Last 3 months, 3.1% growth, 3.7% growth, now 8% growth. It doesn't mean the next month will be more than 8%. All I'm pointing out is the trend is the core industries are picking up. Coal, power, roads, this is picking up. The second trend, of course, is the sown area. How much wheat sowing is taking place, how much paddy sowing is taking place, how much pulses is taking place. Now the figures are very encouraging. The sown area is much higher than last year's sown area. Last year was a very good crop, nearly a bumper crop. This year, if the sown area is more than last year, it is reasonable to expect that agricultural production will be more than last year. That is growth. Then I look at inflows, and I've already spoken about inflows. That is very encouraging. Then we look at the stability of the rupee. The rupee has been between 61 and 62 now for several weeks. Now we think that with more money coming in, the rupee should even go below 61. It will go to between 60 and 61. That's a good sign. So when we talk about green shoots, we're talking about some green shoots in exports, you saw that. Projects clearances, we have cleared 99 projects worth over 3 lakh crore. So these are the green shoots you see in every sector. It's not yet a full-blown crop, but there are certainly green shoots. And from that I'm saying, I'm optimistic, and I've appealed to Indian industry to share my optimism and invest. In fact, I should also appeal to consumers to share my optimism and spend. See, people must consume goods so that industry will produce the goods. If without consumption, there is no production. I think people must share the optimism that India will get back. After all, not long ago, between 2004 and 2008, when I was in this ministry, we recorded 9% growth for 3 years. I'm confident we can get back to that 9% growth. It will take some time. We have to do it step by step. But if I'm confident, I want all of you to be confident.
यही मेरा सवाल था कि आपने ये बात जो बताई कि 99 प्रोजेक्ट्स ऑफ 3.6 लाख करोड़ इनको अप्रूवल मिल गया है। लोगों के मन में सवाल ये है कि ये एग्जीक्यूशन और ग्राउंड हिट कर सकें, टेक ऑफ कर सकें, वो कब होगा? क्योंकि सबसे बड़ा कंसर्न है कि सीसीआई के लेवल का अप्रूवल तो हो गया है, लेकिन एनवायरमेंटल क्लियरेंसेस मिल गए हैं क्या? और आपने दूसरी बात जो कही सर कि इन्वेस्टर्स को आप कह रहे हैं कि वो पैसा लगाना शुरू करें क्योंकि अब एक तरीके का अपवर्ड ट्रेजेक्टरी पे हम हैं, लेकिन फिर भी वो लोग कॉन्फिडेंट नहीं है और पोस्टपोन करके ही बैठे हुए हैं।
No, I don't think that's right. You see, in most cases, the block has been environmental clearance. We have removed that block. In many cases, it was fuel supply agreement. Now we have concluded fuel supply agreements in nearly 150 cases. Once the block is removed, the project will take its normal course for implementation. If there is any other complaint in the same project, it will come back to the CCI. So I don't think you should go with the impression that if this block is removed, nothing else will happen. Everything else will happen. The usual municipal clearance, the usual clearance by the police authorities, usual clearance for water supply, the usual clearance for electricity, all that will happen because there's no complaint about it. We were dealing with a block about which they had complained about. So I think what the CCI has done is, it's a remarkable innovation. We invented the CCI. I wanted to be called the National Investment Board, but finally it became a Cabinet Committee on Investment. That is good. We have cleared so many projects in the last few months, and I think things are moving. For example, the Tatas came and told me that one of the projects that has been unblocked, they are building a new plant, a new town. Another Jamshedpur is coming up in Odisha. I mean, very few people know about it. Another new township, as modern and as efficient as Jamshedpur, with a completely new steel plant is coming.
That is in execution mode. Yeah, it is. It is going into production mode shortly. Okay. But what about others? Because you have been urging to the Indian businessmen to come and invest. But as I asked earlier, that they are still waiting. Unka कहना है कि I think confidence.
I don't think so. They were in waiting mode, but industrialists who are meeting me now tell me that they are now going forward with their investments. Banks have told me that there are inquiries for loans. Bank chairmen have told me that there are disbursements have started. In fact, at the CMD's meeting, they gave me a list of projects. I did share it with the media. I gave examples of 4 or 5 projects. These are moving.
सर अब थोड़ा सा इन्फ्लेशन पे, क्योंकि बहुत ही हाई है और हम लोगों को ये लगता है कि आप लोगों की जो एक्सपेक्टेशन है उससे थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही और बढ़ने वाला है, और ऐसे में आरबीआई गवर्नर भी कह रहे हैं कि थोड़ा ग्रोथ सेक्रीफाइस किया है, ज़रूरत पड़ेगी तो और कर सकते हैं। तो और ये भी कह रहे हैं कि माइनस सब 5% का उनका प्रोजेक्शन है, आपका 5% के ऊपर का था, बाकी लोग सब 4.5% बता रहे हैं। आपका नंबर क्या है?
No, RBI has not said it is less than 5%. RBI simply reported the average of the surveys that have done. RBI's own estimate is it will be 5%. I've got 3 estimates. One is the RBI's estimate of 5%. One is my own economics division's estimate of between 5 and 5.5. and one is the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council's estimate. It will be well above 5%. I've given 3 estimates. There's no reason for me to make my own estimate. I have 3 estimates. I'm quite happy to share the 3 estimates with you. So I think one of those estimates will perhaps be right.
इलेक्शन ईयर में हाई इन्फ्लेशन के लिए अब तो आप लोग उसको रोक दें तो काफी होगा, कम तो नहीं कर पाएंगे, लेकिन और ना बढ़े.
See, inflation is a problem. But what is driving inflation? It is not manufacturing. What is driving inflation is food inflation. I've got the inflation numbers with me. It is entirely driven by wheat and not so much wheat, some part of it is driven by grain, wheat and rice, mostly by fruit and vegetables, milk, eggs. It is food items which are driving inflation. Pulses are down, but other items are driving inflation. Onions is top of the list, over 300% inflation. Now, when I say this, people who know economics understand, but other people will immediately jump on me, but I'm nevertheless going to say it. There's very little that the central government can do to deal with fruit, vegetable traders, wholesalers, retailers. It's not within our province at all. We can deal with wheat and paddy, and we are doing it. We have set up a committee. As I said on that day, they have sold near over 4 lakh tons of wheat in sensitive markets to cool down the prices. And that committee meets once or maybe twice a week to sell wheat. That is all that the central government can do. The state governments can do much more. If I was the Chief Minister of a state, I know exactly how to use the Essential Commodities Act and deal firmly with those who hoarded onions. We know who hoarded onions. We know the hoarders. They come from a state. They are under the control of a state, jurisdiction of a state. But if state governments don't take any action, I can only be sorry. I think much of it can be done by state governments taking the initiative. Whether you can say this is a good initiative, this is not a good initiative, but some state governments have taken some measures which have cooled down prices.
ये NSEL का जो फियास्को हुआ, पहले तो हम लोगों को लगा कि इसमें गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज के एक्शन ठीक नहीं हो रहे हैं. फिर वो अब पुलिस के, स्टेट पुलिस के एक्शन उसमें हुए हैं. लेकिन FMC भी पिक्चर में आया, फिट एंड प्रॉपर पे आप उसको एग्जामिन कर रहे हैं. तो इसमें जो पीनल एक्शन है वो एक चीज़ है, लेकिन लोगों का पैसा वापस आना चाहिए, इन्वेस्टर्स का. भले वो छोटे लोग थे, बड़े लोग थे, उसको छोड़ भी दें. इसमें आगे क्या होने वाला है?
See, FMC and the subject came to me about 1.5 months ago. I can only speak for what we have done in the last 1.5 months. What happened before that, whether action was taken, action was not taken, whether there was an omission, those are matters for inquiry. I can't speak about it. It won't be proper for me to speak about it. Now, since the matter came to me, I've said there are 3 entities. One is NSEL, one is MCX, one is MCX SX, all of which are owned or controlled by the Financial Technologies, the parent company. Now, MCX SX is a stock exchange. It is being regulated by SEBI, and they have taken action. They've replaced the board, they've appointed outside directors, and I think it is now under better supervision. Then we have MCX, which is a commodity exchange. That is under FMC. The persons who are suspected to have done illegalities have all been removed or resigned. The FMC has replaced them with other directors. MCX is now a commodity exchange under very, very strict supervision, almost daily supervision. In my instance, both regulators did surprise checks. They will continue to do surprise checks to detect any illegality or any irregularity. Now, NSEL is a company. It's not a commodity exchange. It is not a stock exchange. It is a company which, even before it started business, was exempted from the Act. So, when it entered business, it was not regulated at all. Now, people may have thought it was regulated. I don't blame them. I sympathize with them. Many of them may have lost money believing that this is a good company. But I know that many of them put in money knowing it is not a regulated company and knowing that the money was being diverted. So you must divide the investors into two categories. People who knew what was happening and people who did not know what was happening. Now I think people who have put in money must get back the money. The EOW Maharashtra Police and the Enforcement Directorate and central government and to some extent the Income Tax Department are working on them. A number of people have been arrested, they've been interrogated, properties have been attached, bank accounts have been attached. Whatever money we collect, we will now place it before the court. The matter is before court. Let the court pass whatever orders it has to pass on how the money of people who put money in NSEL, the company, should be distributed. We are not coming in the way. Let the law take its course and let the money be distributed. But whatever money we collect, either ED or Income Tax Department or even the Economic Offences Wing of Maharashtra Police, that money will be available for the depositors.
बिल्कुल सर, अब एक सवाल इलेक्शन के बारे में, वो ये है कि कांग्रेस और यूपीए को ये लगा कि इंटाइटलमेंट वाली जो पॉलिटिक्स है, राइट बेस्ड चीज़ें, इससे हम चुनाव जीत जाएंगे। अब लगता है कि ये थ्योरी गलत हो रही है। जिस प्रकार के ट्रेंड सामने आ रहे हैं, इसका फ़ायदा अगर मिलना है तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को मिलना है, दिल्ली के लोगों को नहीं मिलना है। और प्लस जिस प्रकार का इलेक्शन नैरेटिव चल रहा है कांग्रेस की तरफ से, ऐसा लगता है कि एक्चुअली योर पार्टी हैज़ लॉस्ट द प्लॉट।
Well, I can't speak for matters concerning the party. This party has a long history and a long tradition of serving the people. In the last 20-25 years, a number of challengers have come and gone. Where is the Janata Party today? Where are the Samyukta Vidayak Dals which came in the state governments? Where are these short-lived third front coalitions which produced 9-month wonder governments? So I don't think you should look at the Congress party in the same way as you look at any other party. We may have made mistakes, but who hasn't made mistakes? In the last over 100 years, this party has made mistakes. Even during the freedom struggle, mistakes were made, but the mistakes were corrected. But I don't think anyone can take away the role and the contribution of the Congress party, nor can you wish it away in the future. This party will remain as long as India lives and India remains. Now the point is, we are facing an election in 5 states. This party believes that growth is of paramount importance, but then asks the next question, which many parties don't ask. Growth for whom? Is it growth for the top 1% of this country? Is it growth for the top 20% of the country, which has over 60% of the income and over 80% of the property and assets? Surely not. Growth must mean something to people. Now, what does growth mean to the middle class, to the poor, and to those who are destitute? What does growth mean? Tell me. If I am a tribal in Chhattisgarh, bringing up 3 children who are emaciated, underfed, what does growth mean to me? What growth means to me is, can I get enough grain, food? Can I get a 1-room tenement where I can keep my family against rain and shine? Can I send my children to school? When somebody passes an order, somebody does something right or wrong, Tahsildar, RDO, can I find out why the guy is doing this to me? Why is he not giving me a ration card? Why is he not giving me an electricity connection? That is what growth means to them. Growth does not mean to them, getting on a flight and admitting their child to Oxford or Cambridge. Therefore we say, in a country like India, right to food means growth for that person. Right to a home, Indira Awaaz Yojana, a tenement. Right to clean drinking water. Right to information, to find out why is he not giving me a ration card. Why is he not giving me something which I'm entitled to? Then right to education. First, when will a school come? If a school comes, will it be in a proper building or will it be in the open field? If a proper building is there, will there be a teacher? If there is a teacher, will there be teaching material? Will there be books, notebooks? This is what growth means to the very poor. You can call it rights-based, you can call it entitlement-based. I call it the fruits of growth. We must achieve growth 8%, 9%, even more if we can. But it must translate to meaningful, visible, tangible benefits for the poor. And I think it is cynical to say that we don't care about what happens to them. We just continue to run a country or an economy for the top 20% of this country.
Sir, you are absolutely right. Nobody can disagree with this formulation that you gave. But your Congress party is focusing less on this communication and focusing more obsessively in attacking Narendra Modi.
Well, I don't know what they are doing because most of the communication in these states is in Hindi and I only know a smattering of it. See, the point is the BJP, because it's a party at sixes and sevens within itself, has projected a person as larger than the party. They will realize their mistake, if not now, in the near future. It's a grave mistake. You cannot project a person as larger than the party in a parliamentary democracy. This is not a presidential form of government. But it appears to me that all the leaders are reconciled to the fact, the BJP leaders seem to be reconciled to the fact that the country is going to elect a president and all of them will be secretaries to the president like in the US. We don't have that form of government, be that as it may. Now they have projected somebody larger than the party. The RSS is fully behind this projection. So what is being propagated by Mr. Modi today is not BJP's ideology, but RSS's ideology. He is the chosen one of the RSS. He is a pracharak, he has been a pracharak all his life. He is now chosen by the RSS to propagate the RSS ideology. Now we think that the RSS ideology is a dangerous ideology. It's worse than the BJP's ideology. The BJP at least is forced to moderate its policies because of pressure of electoral politics. RSS does not enter the election fray. RSS is not accountable to anyone. RSS is a quasi-secret organization. So when the RSS's ideology is being projected by the chosen one, Mr. Modi, inevitably the debate turns around to what Modi says and what Modi does not say. Now, look over the last 2-3 weeks. Look at the howlers he has said. All kinds of things he has said. Starting with his famous statement that we rescued 15,000 Gujaratis in Uttarakhand. Down to the last statement that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru did not attend Sardar Patel's funeral. That Chandragupta belongs to the Gupta dynasty. That Alexander crossed the Ganga. Now what does this show? This shows that in this pursuit of power, you're willing to say whatever comes to your mind. So when these things happen, the debate will focus on the person. But I would be very happy if the BJP projects itself as a party in contention, and then the debate should be between the Congress and the BJP. I think much of this will change if the debate turns out to be a debate between Congress and the BJP. But since they started by projecting a person as larger than the party, I'm afraid sometimes the debate does become about a person.
Sir, regardless of whether I agree or disagree with your observations, but allow me to give one suggestion. That is, you should speak more on politics.
Well, I've got a job. I've got to do my job. If after I do my job that I can speak in politics, I do. When I get an opportunity, I do. I have. In fact, I've spoken to you at great length, in fact.
Yeah. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to CNBC.
Thank you. Thank you.